Um, but just one of those things.
Let's switch a little bit to you learning magic over the years.
Yeah.
How how has learning magic for you changed over the years? How have you practiced in the back in the when you were young? How has that changed? Like how you practice and how you learn slides in the entire learning process. How has it evolved?
Yeah, well, I consider myself very, very lucky because, I feel that I was in the right place at the right time because I met the right people. Now, these people were exceedingly clever. They understood magic to the nth degree almost. Even, all the principles, their sleight of hand was impeccable.
Yeah.
And I got an understanding of how important practice was. And sometimes you've got to, when you're learning a new sleight, for example, you've got to force yourself through a barrier because there will be, particularly with technical sleight of hand, you get to a point where you think you won't learn this, and the other thing is, and this is difficult because sometimes you can practice wrongly. You can
Yep.
practice wrong and you're wasting a lot of time. So I was fortunate. I had people like Peter Duffy, Gordon Bruce, Stephen, and Roy. And if you were doing something that wasn't quite right, they would vocalize that. They would say, "No, that's you need to go back and read that," or they would
Ah,
say, "Look, do it this way. This finger's moving, that finger's moving." Whereas, so there wasn't a lot of time wasted. And then I realised what to aim for when I seen them doing a sleight. And very often when they were doing a sleight, I never seen it. They had to tell me they were doing it. It was that good, you know.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I could see that the pass was being done on most occasions. Very, very rarely have I seen anyone that's doing a classic pass that's been. I know they're doing the pass and the pass is invisible. That's quite rare. I've not seen that much, to be honest. I mean, I've seen some riffle passes that have been fabulous. Peter Duffy's riffle pass was brilliant. His top card cover pass, Roy's pass was terrific, terrific. So as is Gordon's. So when you're seeing these sleights being done to such a high level, subconsciously, whether you like it or not, because you're around these people, you're trying to attain that as well.
Yeah.
And if you're not quite up to the standard, you realise yourself quite quickly that no, Gordon's doing this. Gordon's pass is really, really good. This is fantastic. So you've got to try and keep striving to get
And
better.
reach that level.
Yeah, to get better at it all the time. And Roy was good at that. I mean, Roy, you used to come in and say to Roy, I'm really struggling with the pass, and it was fabulous at just telling you, you've got the cards too far down. I mean, I had them too far down at one point, and he just said, raise them up slightly, just from here to here makes such a difference.
Very big difference for
You
sure.
know, because you can't get that bottom packet out, and even Roy taught me as well when you were replacing the card, he was in position for the pass. He didn't
Ah, very nice.
he didn't he didn't
Didn't have to reposition.
and then reposition. Oh, no, 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 no. He was there, bang, and the pass was done immediately. Immediately.
Very nice.
The pass was done. Yeah. So there was not a lot of telegraphing. Very polished, very smooth. The timing was good.
Have you taken all those principles and you've always applied them to practicing up until this age, basically? Trying to,
Yeah, I've always I think it's important to try and if a trick uses a principle, for example, the Galbraith principle. Now, I don't pretend I know. I mean, I understand the principle, and what it's about. I think you've got to look into the principle so that you can experiment in other ways with it, rather than just doing the trick and let the principle work. I think you've got to try and understand the principle itself, and That's what, for example, Peter Duffy was exceedingly good at. He knew the strength of the Galbraith principle, the stay stack, the automatic placement, the Jean Fennell principle, the placement principle itself. Alex Elmsley had a thing called Penelope's principle. If you've got any of Alex's books, look up the Penelope's principle. It's exceedingly, exceedingly good. You'll fool yourself with that, and some of Alex's work on the Weave Shuffle, the Faro Shuffle, first published in the Pentagram many, many, many years ago. But that appears in his books as well. I met Alex twice, and I was in awe of the man on both occasions. Alex was an absolute gentleman and a real genius, and that's the word genius is bandied about quite often, but I mean that in every sense of the word. Absolute genius.
Everybody knows Alex
Yeah.
Elmsley was a genius.
Yeah.
Like it's agreed upon 100%.
Yeah,
Did you perform anything for Elmsley?
yeah, I did. And I was really, really, really nervous. I done a 4/8 trick that I'd worked out years previously, and it was a very loose assembly. It was just a 7-card assembly thing. And Alex was didn't say much. Alex, he's quite quiet and reserved, And he was taking he loved a little whiskey,
Okay.
liked a little whiskey, And he was sipping his whiskey at the time, and he just said 2 words. He finished his whiskey, and he said, "Very nice."
Very nice.
That's all he said.
How do you react when a magician shows you something that maybe fools you, maybe doesn't fool you? Like how do you react?
I love to be fooled. I love to be fooled, and you know what? I don't mind admitting that I've been fooled. Very often I'll say, "That's fantastic. I have no idea how you done that, but I thoroughly enjoyed it." So I've got no qualms. I would rather be fooled and enjoy it, and if it makes you
Agreed.
feel better that you've fooled me or whatever, that's good. I'd like you to know that, because sometimes I know what it's like. Sometimes when you're sessioning with the other magicians, you're showing them stuff. You're showing them quite a lot of things. You're doing, and sometimes you wonder. You think, are they fooled? Are they not fooled? Are they?
Yeah.
So I tend to say. I mean, if you showed me something, and I'm pretty sure you'd fool me, I would say that's wonderful. I have no idea how you done that. Where can I'd never say, "Can you show me that?" I would just say, where can I find that? Is that something that I could learn? And what book is it in, or something of that nature?
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very
I
nice.
mean, oh no, I always try and encourage. And by the same token, if someone's doing something, and I think that even if they're doing it, I don't even mind if they're doing it badly, because that's fine, that's okay, and
Yeah, that's their level.
oh, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. They've got up there, they've tried to do it, and even if they make a mistake, or and I tend not to give advice unless they ask, really, because I just don't want to put anything on them too much. Very often they'll say, if they invite me to say something, I will say something, but even at that, if it won't be, it certainly won't be a criticism. It will be an encouragement.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, why would anybody like? I have yet to meet somebody that's aggressive when they give feedback. I think most people try to be very kind to one another,
Yes, yes, yes,
which
yes.
is very nice in the community, honestly.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, tell me, when was the first time that you created a magic trick?
Oh,
Do you still remember, like, what triggered your inspiration?
well, I started. I mean, I don't consider myself to be that creative, to be honest, because it's very, very rare that. I mean, I certainly wouldn't put my name to anything. Um, I started trying to, not invent, trying to sort of do my own stuff around my own sort of persona. I'm not particularly funny. I'm straight laced. I don't, I get the odd gag in there. As long as you smile and you be yourself
Yeah.
and you're not intimidating. As long as a smile goes a long way. You got to smile. Um, so so I started around about the late 80s, early 90s. I think, if I recall right, the first wee booklet I put out was a booklet called Osmosis, way, way, way back. Must have been early 90s. And then another one came out called Osmosis 2. And yeah, there's stuff in there that, and normally I need normally it's a variation in a theme. I need
Okay.
some impetus, something. And then I do try to experiment. And this is what I was saying earlier on. If you understand a principle, then you're not just doing the trick using the principle. You've took the time to try and understand what the principle is, how it kind of works, where
Yeah.
these cards will end up if you're doing the automatic placement. Can I spell to them? Can I count to them? And for me, it's all about trying to make things clearer. Anything that's convoluted, I try and stay clear of. It's got to be clear.
Yeah.
And I've got this thing about when you're doing sleight of hand as well, no matter how advanced it is, when you get the technical prowess right, to the best of your ability, then what I try and do is I try and slow down so that you're getting clarity of effect as well. But obviously it depends on the sleight. Some sleights you can't slow down too much. Speed is your friend. But a lot of sleights, if you perform slowly and your technique is good, the magic that you're creating is better in my view. You know,
It
um,
doesn't feel rushed in a way,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah, and I know nerves and things come into it, particularly if you're performing in front of your peers. You've got a tendency to rush through things,
Yeah.
and especially when it's using heavy sleight of hand, because you get this feeling that they may know or see what you're doing, but you've got to try and push that to the back of your mind and just do the stuff. Just do it. Especially when you've practiced well, just do it. Have faith in your ability. But when you're doing sleight of hand, if you can slow down to the point where you're not exposing the sleight, obviously, but yeah, try and slow down. That's
I think it's a beautiful philosophy especially for nowadays social media magic, where everything has to be snappy and very fast and attention grabbing.
yeah,
I think people might get it that that's how you should be performing in real life. Whereas it's what you say. I think if you slow down, people can just appreciate more and they have a bit more time to get sucked into the card trick or into any magic trick that you're doing with any prop.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, and it's a lot of it's to do with the presentation as well. If you're performing something rather than just showing someone you can work it into what you say, when you say it. You know, it's like I mean, the top change, for example, it's quite a
Oh,
difficult sleight, really. And it's quite intimidating when you're young. Um, but I quickly learned, and I used to do it awful, awful fast, and quickly. But it's all, I mean, if someone's watching your hands, that's the first thing that people should realise, that if someone's watching your hands when you're doing the top change, they'll see it. There's no doubt, they'll see those
yeah,
cards
one
changing.
100%.
So you have to misdirect. Now, I had all sorts of things, but for me, what I found was that when I'm addressing the spectator, and if and I've got to exchange this card for the top card of the pack, right? Now, what I learned was that now you look at the distance between the deck and the card at the moment. There's no much distance,
Yeah,
right? Now, when I take this card down to the level, there's still not a great deal of distance, right? But I'm still not coming near the deck. But I
sure.
still need to exchange that card. So I'll do it first and then I'll explain my thinking behind it. So there's the 3. So I'm coming down to the level. Now I need to misdirect. Now, 9 times out of 10, simply by asking a question, they will raise their eyes and look at you because they need to answer. If I say to you, Liz, are you right or left-handed?
Yeah, I'm right-handed.
Okay. And that's it.
Yeah.
So in that gesture, and the only thing I would say from a technical point of view is that when I'm down on the level, I tuck this hand in here and I don't move my right hand. I do not move my right hand. It's the deck that comes to the card.
Yeah.
So if I'm asking you if you're right or left-handed,
You're left-handed.
yeah,
Yeah, that means
it's only
because
my left hand that moves. And if you're asking them a direct question, you know, what, and if you're standing, it's easier. This is awkward, but you get the idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
So yeah, I think slowing down once you get that the sleight of hand. I mean, talking about Alex, Alex had a wonderful steal, which is, and when I see people do it, they all do it very, very quickly. But when you put a card in here, right, I'm just going to square the card up. I hope I'm not going off camera here, but when I fan the deck out, that's it.
Oh, that's Elmsley?
See, so, and it's Alex's, it's in his book. So you have a card here, and you just put, now that card's square, but as you come round to here, you fan the deck and you're away with it. So that's in Alex's book, called The Fan Steal, and it uses a technique from Bill Simon where if you push a card in here, you will always get that and
Nice.
that.
Yeah. So nice.
Yeah, that's the Bill Simon move, and Alex gives Bill Simon credit for that.
I think all of us have some sort of experiences in our life, both in the world of magic, both outside of magic, that end up influencing us and our way of performing or our way of creating. So what I want to ask you is, have you had an experience over the years? I think you've been doing magic for maybe more than 40, 50
Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah, it must be, yeah.
So there's a lot of time in which your style of performing and of creating, I'm just gonna take both of them at the same time, just your style as a magician can evolve and change. So what would be some turning points for you when you felt yourself mature as a magician?
Um, Certainly when the first time that I met, I was fortunate enough to meet Peter Duffy and Gordon Bruce at a magic convention in Edinburgh in the late 80s, early 90s. And I met Peter at the bar after a lecturer was on. And I think Peter showed me his lie detector routine at the time, I think it was. And I was absolutely floored by it and really intimidated because I didn't know because he says to me after it, do you do cards, do you do coins? And the only thing I'd done was vanish a coin, but Peter seemed to like it because um, I was using Dr. Robert's sleeving technique from Bobo. And I just little interlude before I sleeve the coin, where it travels through your hand, you show it, and then it travels back up, and then you take it and it vanishes. That's it, But I used the sleeving thing, so that seemed to impress Peter, and he started showing me other things. And then that's when I got to know Peter really well, and I seen the level of skill, sleights, and that combined with Gordon's prowess experience and Stephen's handling of everything was smooth, naturally smooth. Didn't have to work at it. I mentioned that earlier,
Yeah.
and I always felt extremely intimidated by Stephen because I always felt clumsy by comparison, no matter how much I tried. I mean, Stevie could simply pick up a coin just picking a coin up from the mat would look wonderful.
Very well put.
You
Yeah,
know,
very magical.
it was never, it was always just beauty. Everything was beautifully done. It wasn't like flourishy, quite the opposite from flourishy, just smooth and lovely to watch. So the magical impact was, that's what I grew up with. That's what I had to try and attain. So that's why I say that I found myself being in the right place at the right time. And there was lots of people sharing ideas back then. I mean, Jerry Sadowitz was on the scene as well. He used to come into Roy's, and quite often we'd go to the coffee shop. We'd go along to a wee place called the Rock Garden or a place across the road, and we'd discuss ideas. And lots of times it was just ideas. It wasn't any sort of effects or routines. It's just that well, I've been working with the Jean Fennell free cut principle. That was first published by a guy called John Hamilton in The Eye of the Gods many, many, many years back. And so I didn't know that then, but I looked that up. And so I started playing around with the principles and things that they were showing me. And then I tried to understand the principles, the stay stack, the go brave principle. Where are the cards going? What happens if you faro here? What happens? And this is what these guys were doing. So that's all I knew. I had to do that. I had to constantly exploring for the best method, the most economical sleights. Sleights that were, some sleight. I don't know if you're the same, Biz, but some sleights you come across, and no matter how much you practice them, you think, I just can't get it. Just cannot get it. There's a sleight called the misdirection palm. I could never get it. It's a Marlowe thing. And Stephen could do this wonderfully well. And this is out of context, but I'd just like to say, I could never get the damn thing. If you place a card in the front of the deck and you square up that card, you can clearly see that card sticking out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I push that in, so you're away with that card, which is the top. So you do it under the misdirection of pushing that card in. So that's a Marlowe thing.
Oh, you're palming the top card, right?
Yeah, but you're doing it under the. So you're palming just at the exact same time as you're pushing the card in.
Exactly.
So Stephen had a wonderful colour changing deck using that. You can imagine placing a red card into a red deck, and then instantly the deck changes to blue. Spits it out. The whole thing's blue.
Yeah, it's a great slide for that.
Great sleight for that. Yeah. So and that's the other thing, is trying to find the sleights that match what you're doing. So that's where the economy comes in. If you want to, if you need to palm in the right hand, it's got to kind of come out either this pocket or this pocket. So you want to make sure it's, the card is right where it should be. So economy.